Hi there, it's November the 1st, and we're continuing our journey through the letter to the Hebrews, and we are in chapter 3, reading the whole chapter from verses 1 to 19. So the writer to the Hebrews here encourages those to whom he's writing, these who have been made holy, these who have been made saints by the redeeming blood of Jesus, to now hold on to the calling with which they've been called and to take it seriously. He calls them to consider, to think carefully about Jesus, who he says is the apostle and the high priest of their calling. Now, apostle, we've said before, we've taught before, this word is one that means sent out, it means emissary, it means envoy, but in particular in the ancient world in these times it meant one who would start off a new colony, who would take the colony of Rome and establish a new Rome there for the benefit of those. So this is about Jesus, who has come to bring his kingdom to earth, to establish heaven on earth. But he's also the high priest of our confession. And that means that he is going into the presence of God. So he's coming out from the presence of God as apostle, but he's also going in as high priest. And this is superseding the high priesthood of the Levitical priests, because this he's going to go on and talk about Jesus as the high priest of another order. He actually also raises Jesus here. The writer raises Jesus above Moses. He says Moses was faithful to God in his house, in the things he was called to do, in his vocation, in his day, but Jesus is actually far greater, because Jesus is the Son of God and he is over the house of God as God's heir. And who is that house? He says, well, we are that house, all those who trust in him, all those who have faith in him. And then the writer warns the readers against turning back from their commitment to Jesus. As we've said before, it may be that he was writing to those who were in danger of going back into the ways, the old ways, the traditions of Moses, and doubting Jesus. But he's trying to encourage them and say, don't do that, because if you do that, you will be like the people of Israel in the time of the temptation in the desert, the time of the trying in the desert, who hardened their hearts. And to this end, the writer quotes Psalm 95, verses 7 to 11, that if you hear him today, don't harden your hearts like they did in the desert and they turned away. And he says this is the important day. You need to hear, but you need to keep on hearing. You hear once, but then you keep on listening, you keep on receiving, and actually obeying him is continuing in that confidence right up to the end. And so there is this suggestion. He says, after all, who was it who God made go around the desert? Wasn't it those who originally he called out? Wasn't it those who he delivered from Egypt? Those who turned back because of their, and the Greek word is apistia, their unfaith, their lack of faith, their unbelief, as some versions in English have it. And God is, the writer is saying, don't be like that. Hold on with confidence to what you've been called to, because you don't want to be found in that same unbelief that prevented them from going in to the promised land. And so the writer here is encouraging his readers to continue faithful to Jesus, to continue faithful to this high priest and apostle of their confession. May we also today remain faithful, even in the trying, even in the testing times, even when there's a temptation to break trust with Jesus. Let's hold on to him, the one who is going into the presence of God on our behalf, who stands there now on our behalf, pleading our case. Have a very good November the 1st.